But when everything starts screaming for your attention and suddenly everything feels urgent, everything feels important, everything feels like it has the same weight, I become a hot mess when I feel that way. And I'm running from task to task, reacting instead of leading and responding. I'm busy all day and I'm wondering why I'm exhausted and frustrated by the end of the night.
Welcome to the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast, where you will learn simple solutions to win at work without losing at home. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business by elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl, to procrastinating on your goals and living in overwhelm. And it's time to say hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits so that you can achieve work-life harmony. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Life Coaching for Mompreneurs podcast. Let's do this.
Welcome back to Life Coaching for Mompreneurs. Today, we're going to continue our big B word conversation, and we're going to be talking about busy. But before we talk about calendars, to-do lists, or time management, I want to start somewhere deeper. And just for the record, I've been a little bit sick, so my voice sounds a little off today. But let's talk about breakups, because it's time for one, friends. It's time for us to break up with busy. And breakups are rarely clean or easy. Like when I think about the breakups that I've had in my life, they're not easy, they're not clean, and they're not comfortable. And they require honest conversations. They disrupt what's familiar and they force change, even when the change is what we know we need. So breaking up with busy is going to be no different. Because for many women, many of you that are listening, and I know this because I can be in any social setting, a networking event, time with friends, in an online conversation, and I'm busy is like on repeat. And so it's not just a season. That's what your brain's telling you is it's just a season, but it's also an identity. It's become an identity for so many of you. You'll find yourself saying, I'm just a busy person. I thrive when I'm busy. I don't know who I'd be if I'd slow down. And that's why this is going to feel hard. You're not just changing habits, you're questioning who you've been taught to be by culture, maybe by people that you follow online, maybe by a coach. Listen, I'm a hard worker and I have a high work ethic. But as you'll see, as we dive into this topic today, there is a difference in hustle and working hard. There is a difference in being busy and being in business and being about the business of your marriage, being about the business of your health, being busy about building the life and the career, the business that you really want to build. So being the busy woman often meant being reliable, being needed, being productive, being valuable. So when I say break up with busy, what I'm really saying is we're breaking up with the belief that your worth is tied to how full your plate is. This is like on display everywhere, that we have tied our value and our worth to our productivity. This is where what we do, we esteem higher than who we actually are. And so it's become a part of our identity to be busy. And just like any real breakup, this is going to require honesty. It's going to require courage and a willingness to sit in some discomfort before things feel lighter. When I have clients that come in and they're in a full-blown burnout, and we start creating space, we start creating more intention, we start creating movement forward, not just spinning. And when they have this space to think, to feel, to create, to be purposeful, it feels weird. I mean, I don't know any other word to say, but it feels weird. It feels unproductive. It doesn't feel like what they've been feeling, right? Their nervous system is becoming more regulated. They're becoming more proactive versus reactive. And if it's going to feel uncomfortable, even though we know it's the direction they want to go into. So your brain will always take you back to familiar chaos than unfamiliar comfort, not even comfort, but like familiar, like a familiar pace. So it's always going to take you back to what's familiar, the pace you've been doing, even when your goal is to be in business, not just being busy. So this doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong if you feel this resistance that's going to come up, because it's going to come up because we're changing identity, we're changing habits, we're changing how you show up in the world. It just means that we've touched something real, and from here we can start talking about what busy actually is for you. We need the awareness, we need the honesty, and we need the courage. So again, if you start going down this road and you start feeling off, that doesn't mean that you're doing it wrong. And it doesn't mean that it's not the right step. It just means that this is a new pace, a new identity, and new ways of thinking that you haven't been thinking before. So anything new is going to feel hard in the beginning, right? But why does busy keep showing up for you? We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about how to begin choosing intentional over overloaded. Because once busy becomes who you are, slowing down can feel like losing yourself. And I wanted to call that out from the very beginning, because when you start feeling that resistance or you start feeling that uncomfortable emotions, you just want to like abort mission, right? And go back to what's familiar. That's what your brain's going to try to do this entire time, is go back to being the busy woman. And what I'm challenging you with is, what are you busy about? What is creating all the busyness? Is all the busyness actually getting you closer to where you want to go, or are you just spinning your wheels? So busy does not equal success. I remember having a conversation with one of my clients, and she had gone on vacation and she was with some friends, and they were asking her about her business. And she was like, "Are you busy?" And she was like, that's not how I equate success. Being busy is not how I equate success. It's not how I define success. I equate success with having a business that has my dream clients that I want to work with, that honors my family rhythms and my personal rhythms. Like, that's how I define success. But it was like the way that people were asking the question was, if you're busy, then you're successful. And that can be just a very slippery slope when we ask ourselves that question that way. Because you can be busy and not be building anything that actually matters to you. I saw this all the time when I was in direct sales. I still see it now. You can be busy and feel disconnected, exhausted, and behind. Like, what kind of success is that? When you get to the top, wherever the top is for you, and you look back and you are physically depleted, you probably have some health issues because you didn't take care of your soul and your body and your mind. You're disconnected from the people that you probably got into the business to build it for. You're disconnected from them. So busy can create that. You can be busy and still feel like you didn't accomplish anything at the end of the day. How many of you have done that? Where you shuffled papers all day long, or you started this task, you're multitasker, right? You're being a multitasker. Well, most of us are great multitask starters, but we're not multitask finishers. So we start a bunch of things and we get really busy, and at the end of the day, we don't have anything to show for it. That feels awful as a busy entrepreneur, as a mompreneur who is looking to achieve success. That feels awful at the end of the day, to know that, like, in my mind, in my body, I feel like I was very busy today, but I didn't move forward. So busy is often a false sense of accomplishment. It feels productive. It looks impressive, but it doesn't always move you forward, especially on your terms, as my client was describing, success on her terms. And here's the harder question that most women don't stop to ask. How do you define success? What is the target? How do you define success? For some people, it's building a large empire, a big brand, a big team that they're managing, lots and multiple offers or services that they're providing. For others, it's a large title, right? The top of the top of the top. And there's no right or wrong here. It's just you defining what success looks like for you. In the season that you're in, too, I would add that, because success for me now versus success for me 20 years ago is very different. I think back, like, this is my 20th year as an entrepreneur. And what I deemed success when I was first getting started for me was getting out of the house. I needed something for me to have just for me. And that was my definition of success. I wanted to connect with more women. I didn't even know there was money to be had in entrepreneurship because I thought it was only for those super smart people who work 24/7, 365. And so I didn't know I had it in me. So, how do you define success right now? It's a very important question for you to answer. And there's no right or wrong answer to that question. But if you don't define it for yourself, busy will happily define it for you. It will. And then other people and their expectations of you will also define what success is for you. Or you'll see how someone else is finding success and you're like, well, I just need to do what she's doing. Not even like putting into account your season of life, where your kids are, what priorities do you have as a mom and wife first, and then your business. So busy keeps you moving, but it not necessarily keeps you moving forward. And when I start feeling overwhelmed, and yes, I still struggle some days with this, it's usually because my priorities are completely out of sorts. Like when I start feeling that hustle energy showing up, or I'm feeling the overwhelm and the past version of me. So as I've been saying, you're creating a new identity, a woman who is intentional, not just busy, a woman who is not riddled with overwhelm. But in the past, I would just start chasing faster. That ball would be moving so fast and I would be feeling overwhelmed and I just got to run faster. I just got to push harder. And what I realized is when I start feeling that coming up for me now, it's actually a reminder to slow down because the faster I chase it, the faster the ball goes. So really slowing down, okay, what are my priorities right now? Where are they out of sorts? That's usually where it's coming from. It's coming from you thinking the overwhelm, I've said this before, comes from you believing that I'm incapable of doing all the things that are on my plate. And so we want to get a good look at what's on your plate. What are the priorities right now? And then meeting that with capability. So it's a dual effort. It's removing what's not most important off your plate and then meeting capability for the things that are on your plate. But when everything starts screaming for your attention and suddenly everything feels urgent, everything feels important, everything feels like it has the same weight, I become a hot mess when I feel that way. And I'm running from task to task, reacting instead of leading and responding. I'm busy all day and I'm wondering why I'm exhausted and frustrated by the end of the night. Can you relate to that? I know someone listening can relate to that. And this is especially common for mompreneurs because we're not only carrying our business, we're carrying the family responsibilities, the demands of the business, emotional labor. We're like their emotional capacity holders for everyone, right? Expectations, both spoken and unspoken. We're carrying those things. And busyness sneaks in as a coping mechanism because staying busy feels safer than slowing down and deciding. If you're in the land of indecision, you are going to create a busy schedule because when you're slowing down, you have to start making some decisions. And I felt this way, honestly, like really the start of 2026 has kind of felt like this because I've had these breaks in momentum because of real life situations, grief and loss. And I had a coaching call with my coach yesterday, and I was like, all right, I just know I have so many decisions that I need to make and my brain is swirling and I just need to process some of this with you. And so that required us to slow down and put the brakes on a little bit and look at what those decisions are.
Hey, friend, let's talk. It's time to book your clarity call. We are going to spend 1 full hour focused on you. A clarity call isn't about pressure. It's about possibilities. It's about you. You having a space to talk through what's on your heart and mind, you walking away with a clear vision and practical next steps, and you feeling confident in what's next and how to get there. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's my job. All you need to do is show up and we'll figure it out together. This is the best hour you can invest in yourself right now. Not in 6 months from now, not next month, right now. And don't just take my word for it. Here's what one of my coaching clients had to say after working together.
Working with Martine was truly a game changer for both my life and my business. She challenged me to step outside of my comfort zone and helped me clearly identify the areas where I was feeling the most resistance, and then guided me in creating solutions that actually fit my personality and my working style. What I appreciate most is how genuine and grounded she is in every conversation and how naturally she blends life and business guidance together. As a female business owner, a mom, and now a dear friend, I deeply value the time, care, and energy she invested in me during our weekly sessions. Ending each week with clarity, momentum, and a reset mindset was incredibly powerful. The lessons and perspective I gained will stay with me for years to come. And I'm excited to see how my business continues to grow because of her support and direction. I'm so grateful for her coaching, encouragement, and the steady presence through one of the most challenging seasons of my business. As a sole provider for our family, signing up for coaching with Martine was one of the best investments I've ever made for both myself and for my business.
That transformation, it starts with one conversation. It's time to stop spinning your wheels and start making real progress. So head right now to martinewilliams.com or in the show notes and grab your private clarity call spot on my calendar before they're gone. And since I personally monitor my inbox, if you don't see a time slot that fits your calendar, just send me an email at martine@martinewilliams.com with free times that do work, and I will make it work for you. All right, friend, let's get back to the show.
But I say this lovingly, busy can become a disease. That's actually the name of one of my modules in my Choose You course that I created over 5 years ago that I am going to bring back. I keep saying that, but I am going to bring it back because it's still something that I see today. We just say it. It's just a normal thing, right? It's so common. It's not normal to be busy, but it is very common, and it can become a disease. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because it keeps you from asking the better questions. Busy keeps you reacting instead of choosing. Busy keeps you distracted from what actually matters. It keeps you from sitting with discomfort long enough to create the change. If you're busy, you can just avoid all kinds of things: hard conversations, decisions that need to be made, work that is required to grow your business, but you're just kind of in fear and doubt and uncertainty. So if you just stay busy, you don't have to feel any of those things. Tell me how I know. So, as Shauna Niequist says, burnout is not reserved for the rich or the famous or the profoundly successful. It happens to all people across all kinds of careers and lifestyles. And we talked about burnout in the previous episode. But if you're tired, you're tired, period, full stop. Period, full stop. If the life you have created feels too heavy, it's too heavy. If the person next to you is carrying more, even if the person next to you see as carrying more, even if you think you should be grateful, your body, your emotions, and your nervous system are not lying to you. This is how it becomes a disease. We've been sold a lie that says, don't listen to your body, don't listen to your emotions, don't listen to your spirit, just stay busy. Just keep achieving. Just push through. And one day, someday, you'll circle back and take care of yourself, right? But that day rarely comes. We've talked about the one day strategy here on the podcast before, at least not before burnout forces a reckoning. And this isn't weakness when you choose to look at your busyness. It's wisdom knocking. When your body and your emotions call the meeting, it's your body communicating to you. It's your emotions are giving you information. Your spirit is asking for care. Your soul is asking for soul care, not later, but now. And the sooner you listen, the sooner you protect the asset. Ignoring it is what leads to the crash and the burn. Ignoring it is what takes your dreams off the table. Because most of you are not going to sacrifice your family for your dreams. And so I see two things happening in this situation. I do see people who sacrifice everything on the sake of success. I've seen that. And then I see others who have the complete opposite. They're like, it's not worth it. My dream, my idea, my calling is not worth it. And I'm here to tell you, you don't have to choose one or the other. You can be fully ambitious and fully protect your peace. You don't have to sacrifice one dream, having a successful relationship with your family and winning it at home, to win at work. You don't. But you have to break up with busy. You have to decide, I'm not going to take on that identity anymore. So here are some practical ways for you to break up with busy. We're not talking about perfection here. We're not talking about overhauling everything and we're not becoming someone else altogether. But here are some things that I have learned. Your best day starts the night before bed. Do a brain dump. Get it all out of your head. Getting everything out of your head onto paper. All the things you feel you need to get done. Then, and this is the key, identify your three, not 31, not 101, not 10, three must do's that are directly connected to your bigger goals, not just for maintenance, but what are the three things that are directly connected to where you're headed? And you have to identify those. The second part is schedule them in. Schedule your priorities. Don't hope for time. Create the time. You'll never find time. You'll never find time, just like you'll never find balance. You create the time. You create the harmony. Here's the truth. We don't find time. We make time for what matters. And when something is scheduled in, it gets done. When it isn't, busy will crowd it out. It's like the weeds will choke it out because there's all kinds of things. And I don't know if you are familiar with Stephen Covey, but he did an exercise, and I've talked about this in the podcast before, but it's always a great reminder to me, where he's the time management productivity guru. And he walks into this classroom and he was teaching a class and he had this hurricane like vase and he had rocks in it. And he asked the class, these big rocks, and he said, "Is the glass full?" And they're like, "Yeah." And so then he pulls out some sand and he pours sand in there. And he asks the class, "Is the glass full?" "Well, yeah." And then, "Yes, it's full." Then he pulls out some little pebbles and the pebbles fill in some more space in the glass. And he's like, "Is the glass full?" And at this point, the class is like, "Well, I don't really know what the answer is." And they're like, "Maybe." And so then he pulls out this pitcher of water and he pours water over it and it fills in all the remaining spaces. And he says, "All right, what is the point of this demonstration?" And one of the students stood up, and this probably would have been me. And they said, "No matter what's on your calendar, you can always fit one more thing in there." And he said, "No, the point of the exercise is if you don't get the big rocks in first, you won't get them in at all." So I want you to think of the sand and the pebble and the water. Those are the weeds. Those are the busyness that will choke out the big rocks. So we have to make time for what matters most. Because when it isn't, when we don't do that, busy is going to crowd it out. This isn't about controlling your life. It's about protecting what matters most, what's going to move the needle. And this process also improves sleep, and sleep improves everything. So I have a lot of clients that do this brain dump before they go to bed, and they're like, "I cannot believe how much better I sleep at night." The third thing is I want you to shift the language from have to choose to. This is a small but very powerful shift. If you're constantly saying, "I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this," it probably doesn't feel good in your body to say that because it feels like you don't have any choice. We like choices as women. Can I get an amen? But if you say, "I choose to do this," it puts you back in the driver's seat. You're choosing to do this because you're not a victim of your calendar. You're the designer of it. The same power that created the overcommitted, stretched calendar is the same power that you have to uncommit. Whatever you've created, you have the same power to uncreate that. You're not a victim of your calendar. You're the designer of it. So start choosing to do the things versus "I have to do this." So what you're really breaking up with busy, it's not about doing less for the sake of doing less. It's about letting go of the need to prove. We talk about proving energy on here a lot. The fear of disappointing. If I don't show up at all the things and be everything to everyone. The belief that rest equals laziness. We're breaking up with that. The identity of being the woman who always does it all. We can't have it all, but it comes in seasons. Busy doesn't equal valuable. It doesn't equal success. It doesn't equal productivity. And it doesn't equal fulfilled from my experience and the women that I work with. You know what does? Intentionality. One of the most powerful mindset shifts you can make is changing your language from I have to I choose to. Again, it just reminds you that you have a choice. So let me leave you with a few questions. Where am I staying busy instead of being intentional? Where are you staying busy instead of being intentional? What feels urgent but isn't actually important to where I'm going, to the woman that I'm becoming, to the life that I'm creating, the business that I want to create? Who would I be if my worth wasn't tied to my output? What you do is not who you are. So who would I be if my worth wasn't tied to my output? Breaking up with busy isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice of choosing alignment over overload. I still have to practice this because in a world that is noisy and telling you to go, 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 stay busy, it's a daily practice and a daily habit to choose alignment over overload. So if this episode stirred something for you, I just want you to know you're not alone. This is the reason why I did this B word, because it's talked about a lot. Busy has been praised, it's been rewarded, it's been reinforced for a long time. Many of you have worn busy as a badge of honor for a very, very long time. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good to be needed and to be depended upon. But you're allowed to want more peace, more presence, more intention, more real momentum and growth forward. And if you want support learning how to lead your life and business without burning yourself out and breaking up with this busy disease, I would love to help you with this. So go to martinewilliams.com/clarity and book your clarity call. And the link will be in the show notes too. But this is your next step. If you could have broken up with busy on your own, I believe you would have already done it. And maybe something in the episode really kind of stirred something with you and resonated with you, and you just want to talk about it. Let's talk. Let's connect on a clarity call. martinewilliams.com/clarity. And I hope that you're enjoying this series. And until next time, I'm believing in you always, and I will catch you on the next episode.
Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.